Hello, my name is Dominique Medici. Thank you for joining me for this portrait demo. We will be drawing Rahel with Strathmore tone gray paper, Tombow graphite pencils, and General's white chalk. When starting, there are two questions that come to mind. One, how long do I have? And two, how much should I take on? Because this is a short demo, I'm thinking I really can't take on much more than just the head and shoulders. I like to start by just approaching it intuitively, going for the largest shapes and masses, knowing that the detail will come later. Likeness really comes from these very large shapes. The idea is to first guess and then verify with measurement. That way we end up strengthening our intuition. Let's check the relationship of the major thirds. So starting with the nose, right, bottom of columella to brow ridge, and then let's bring that up. So brow ridge to hairline, you can see, right, her forehead is a bit bigger. So plane change between forehead and top of head. You can see the head turning into the hair here. So bigger, and then our lower third from columella to chin, I mean, it's about the same as the middle third. If we are going from the plane change from the front of the chin to the bottom plane. Then we look at the width of the nose, right? We can rotate that against the length of the middle third. A nice rule of thumb, on average, width half of the length of the middle third. And then in our specific model, is it more or less? We can get more. So her nose is a bit shorter and the base is a bit wider. It's the proportions that really get the major likeness of our subject. So even if the details were perfect, but the proportions were off, at best it would look like maybe a cousin or an aunt or something. So eliminating the detail, looking for the big shapes, is the real key for getting likeness. With our basic proportions in place, we're starting to look for the overall breakdown of light and shade within the composition. We're so distracted by the variety that's in front of us that we forget to see the simplicity. I'm squinting and I'm just looking at this image. Anything that groups together towards dark, towards that shadow shape, I am drawing this green line around. And our goal is just 3 values. Everything we look at has to be either a light average, a mid-average, or a dark average. This is a wonderful way to simplify what we're seeing. See, when you squint, things connect that otherwise would seem separate. So look at this shadow shape that I'm sketching on the eye here. All of this ends up becoming part of the shadow, right? So that brow it's part of the hair. The eye here, look at the eye. We can't actually see an edge on the eye. So why draw it that way? Then we have our light shape. And what will remain in between will be mid-range value, right? The middle tones. And the goal here is unifying the lights, mids, and darks. In the same way that we simplified the drawing, we're also simplifying the breakdown of light and shade. So there's our basic breakdown. Light, mid, and shadow. Now that we have that, let's start to block it in. Now I want to lay in the value as consistently and evenly as possible so that all of the shadow groups together and all of the light groups together. It's very clear where the division is between light and shade. The values aren't fully established yet, but they do give a clear sense of where the light's coming from. And with that, we have a sense of her overall likeness. With the initial value block in, now we can freely develop the individual forms. Even though it looks like I'm drawing an eye, my attention is really on the relationship of each part to the other. As the forms develop, I naturally start extending the value range, beginning to put in my darker darks and lighter lights. But at the same time, I'm also very much trying to keep in mind that the whole point of using toned paper is that it is the middle value. So let's use it to its full advantage. And also, you'll notice that I didn't do the lightest lights or darkest darks yet, but now beginning to establish those. The idea is to favor the middle values. When we eventually put in those lightest lights, they don't feel out of step. They feel like accent, kind of like the decoration on a cake. We wouldn't want to decorate it before the cake is cool enough. Otherwise, all the decorations melt. It's a bit like that with our drawing. There's a natural sense of rhythm and time for drawing, right? If we're patient, we sort of get into the flow with it. And with consistent practice, month after month, we see these results sort of come on their own. Just having a good process is the key. I hope you enjoyed this demo, and I look forward to seeing you in class.